one of our many conversations, you spoke
Mhm.
about betrayal in friendships. And as kids, the first comfort space that we find outside of our home would be our friends, right? And any relationship we hold with the other person is a two-way street.
Yeah.
So, let alone being betrayed by one friend, it's even harder when it's a group of friends, right?
Yeah.
So I know how that feels like. So in my experience, I felt lonely, isolated, abandoned, and most of it all having the strength to do all of it alone. Like maybe like having a lunch alone by yourself or sitting in a class by yourself. Being misunderstood is different from being betrayed, but I learned to love myself when I wasn't given a choice. And where did you find the strength every day until you finally restructured these thoughts in your head and found like this new perspectives that made you feel like, okay, like, this is manageable? Because like I think like there've been point in my life where I felt these betrayal in a group or group of friends or like by a friend. Like I think like it felt hard to take this longer, good, complete breath in my chest. It always felt like there is a block in here. It felt like, okay, what am I even going to do with it, right? So, how did you restructure these thoughts and what made you feel like, okay, this is manageable, this is something that I can do, this is the plan I have? Like, what are those few steps?
Yeah. So actually, that one was quite relatable and personal on so many levels, because I have been in the place where I've like, and my classmates can vouch for this. I've been that girl who sat alone at lunch, like when I was going through this rough patch with my friends back. I mean, my friends as in we're not in good terms now, but like my friends back then. I remember, like, I would just sit alone in class and eat, and everybody would come ask me about those friends, and like, yeah, like that question was pretty relatable. Betrayal, I think. So for me, the trait that I associate betrayal with is trust. And so, like, when it comes back to like, that's, I mean, like, trust is the true testament of betrayal. Like, what people do with your trust is how you define betrayal. And at least in my dictionary, that's how I define it. So I think like when I think my first betrayal, like I would call it, I think it was more along the lines of me trusting somebody, or rather, me trusting my friends and this specific group of friends, and them using that same. I mean, like I mean by trust, I mean like I would share something with them that I wouldn't like tell anybody else. Like it would be something that would that would mean a lot to me, or it would have been really hard for me to be vulnerable at that point of time, but I would have chosen to do it anyway because they were my friends back then, and I would have shared certain things with them, and only to find that they use it against me later on, or stuff like that comes up, or maybe we have something else going on and somehow this gets popped up into that, and like it was basically like a lot of drama and a lot of emotions, I would say. But I think the way I started, I don't know, I don't think I can recollect like a specific instance where my way of thinking and my brain rewiring just happened. It didn't magically happen overnight, obviously, but it was through a process. And my learning from that process was, you can't really, like, if you really think about it, you can't really stop people from betraying you. Like, it's not something that you have control over. It's not like, if somebody wants to betray you, I mean, they might even do it unintentionally. It's not like everybody wants to betray the people they love. They might have done it, like unintentionally, but betrayal is betrayal. And the way I see it, it's not like you can actually control or you can actually stop somebody from betraying, but rather the only thing that you have control over in that entire situation is how you react to it. And so I think, instead of working on finding the right people to trust, and instead of always being in that alert mode of seeing, okay, this person going to betray me, I have to be careful with this, that was a lot of mind work for me personally. And instead of putting all of my energy and brain juice into that, I just decided to use that effort into training myself to be a lot more resilient. Like, in the sense that I, even if, like, let's say, like, I would always assume the worst case scenarios happening around me. Like, even if this person A betrayed me, like, I should still be able to deal with it. Like, so instead of focusing my energy on them, on something that I can't control, I decided to focus all of my energy into something that I control, which is my reaction towards that said betrayal. And so I started to make myself more resilient, and like the way I started reacting to it. And I also subconsciously, like, it's not that I had the mental awareness or the maturity to just click this trick, but subconsciously what I found myself doing was, I decided to take control of, I started, so basically, let's say this like, I have like level 1 secret, which is like the top most secrets about me, something that only my family members would know. So let's say that would be like level 1 secret, as opposed to level 5 secret, which is something that I would be comfortable sharing with like a group of friends. So I've realized that, when it comes to situations like this, I decided to take control of the relationship, in the sense that I would only share things that I would be okay with being, I mean, like, I would only share things that if they were ever used against me in the future, I would still be okay with doing. So that's, and I realized that I was doing this subconsciously. So like, if I knew like this particular piece of information or this particular thing, if I trusted somebody else with, and they used it against me, it would break me. I would never even say, trust that person with it in the first place. And yes, it did, like, I did realize that that's not always the right thing to do, because it's like you're always giving everybody that benefit of doubt. You're always being skeptical, which is not a good thing. Sometimes it's good to be open and trustworthy, and have that level of trust to sort of like deepen the bond. But I realized that this was something that was never in my control. I just subconsciously started doing it. So I started being very private about my life, very private about what I was doing, and I was like, that's when my trust issues also started kicking in, which is like another podcast altogether, probably. But I guess that's when it started happening, and all of this was just happening on autopilot. It wasn't like I actually put in any thought or effort into it. But yeah, I realized that, okay, if I can just turn the situation into my favor, and choose to focus on what I can actually control, then I'd probably have a better shot at dealing with it and like not going insane. So I guess that's how it happened. And yeah, I think, and like, it's also helped me in a way, because now I've realized that yeah, I did have my share of betrayals. And again, like, that whole thing is subject. Like, if we look into the matter, it's always subjective. There's always two sides to the story. And in my side, yes, I did feel betrayed, but there might have been things that I might have done wrong from my side that would have made the other person feel a certain way. And that could, it's always a domino chain. One person does something, the other person takes it in another sense, and it just goes, and in the end, it just ends up in a very messy situation. So yeah, I guess there might have been things that I might have done wrong, which would have led to that person betraying me as well. So I might have they might have pulled the trigger, but I might have been the reason. Like, it always goes back and forth. And honestly, like, if you really have to sum it up, like I said, just focus on what you can control, and just work on being more resilient. And yeah, that's pretty much my take on that. Yeah.
So I would say that I think I've successfully been betrayed by two different group of friends.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
one
Sorry
during
about
my
that.
bachelor's and one like recently. And I think like even by telling that okay, I don't have control over the situation, like like yeah, when it happened during my bachelor's, yes, like I felt like I didn't have control over the situation. But like the second time I felt like okay, like it happened again, and I was so careful that it should never happen again, and it did. So sometimes like even being too even if you give it the thought, it might happen. And yeah, so you definitely don't have control over it, even if you've like programmed your brain n plus one possibility of it occurring. There's always like another possibility, of things that might not work out the way that you want to. And there is this podcast episode of Matthew Hussey, and he says that he talks about betrayal, where he says, do you trust another person to not betray you or use the information that you provide to them against you? Or is it good to trust yourself that even if they do, I will be able to handle it? And I think like it's a very
That's
powerful perspective.
yeah.
And I think like a lot of your inner work or our inner work should be around understanding that, okay, how much do I trust myself during the process of me breaking down, of like that I can get up on my own. And I think like
True.
I've broken down many, many, many times. I've fixed myself, even though the pieces aren't in the right place. I still stayed this whole person. And I think like it's all like I see myself as a puzzle, and like sometimes the puzzle that I've worked on all my life might just shatter, and then all the pieces might be aligned in so many wrong places, but it's still me, it's still my puzzle, and I would be that person to define it. So even when you said that, okay, if this is like my first secret that I wouldn't say to anyone, I think like yeah, that is trust issues, and I think like that's something that I'm also currently working towards. But one thing that worked for me is to like we can have the benefit of the doubt with like anyone and everyone, but like I think like I let myself feel liberated by, okay, I am going to trust the person that I feel like I have to trust. But if they betray me, I mean, like, I'm not going to put it on me. Yeah, like, there is a possibility that they might. And if that occurs, I'll deal with it then. So if that is what life has for me, then I will happily take it. Yeah, I'm being betrayed again and again and again and again and again. At some point, I might have the possibility of finding someone who might never betray me, who might actually understand me, who might actually be that person whom I can completely trust and be friends with. Because, like, I think from my school times, I just took two or three friends. From my college, I literally have like one or two friends. But like when I was like in college or in school, I used to talk to a lot of people, but not everyone has came to the next phases of my life. And even right now, I might outgrow people. People might betray me. People might make me feel scared about them. There are a lot of different kind of faces, colors, and people. With people with a lot of emotions that they wanted to live, they come from different places. So all of this happens, but I think at the end of the day, you just need to know that, okay, I'm going to trust another person, irrelevant of them being whatever. Yeah, if life is going to betray me, yeah, it's going to hurt. If they're going to betray me, yeah, like if that's what it takes for you to learn something out of life, I think like I just want to live that way, and I choose to live that way. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I know there's like a lot of hurt for me, like going
Yeah.
down the road if I do that. But I still trust in humans that, okay, someone out there might be like me, someone out there might actually be this person whom I can completely trust, and you know so like just giving that possibility, even if it's just that 1 or 2%, if I shut down, I might not meet them, I might not, even if I do, I might not. I have this gate in front of me, so I'm definitely going to block them out of my life if they get too close.
Yeah.
So yeah.
True.